You owe
Thank
me.
you, thank you,
Oh,
thank
you owe
you.
me.
Oh,
You owe me.
absolutely. I'm so I'm so sorry. I
I
didn't really mean
told
for
you it
this
was
to happen.
presentable, but okay.
You look great. What
Oh
are you talking
God.
about? You
Anywho,
know this. I hate now that we got what we need. Hold on one more second. All right. I don't want to waste no more time, so let's get started. Hi everyone. This TJ Gordon, and today we'll be talking about disability and nerdom. This is episode 1 of our disability and nerdom series, where we get to talk about um, the connections between disability or mental health with all the favorite geek stuff like video games, anime, etc. And our original co-host Jada, I'm not able to reach them at the moment. Hey, Anita. Hey, y'all. We're not able to reach them at the moment, but we actually have a special guest. She's now also a fellow Aggretsuko fan, but also my loving girlfriend. It's
hi.
Angie. Hi. How's it feel to be on live
You
again? I am so sorry,
you
but I needed somebody to
you
talk
owe
to.
me. I was not prepared to hop on here. I was trying to get my laptop whatnot situated, but I'm gonna have to do some stuff off of here. But I was just trying to look presentable. But you owe me. Oh, you owe me. You owe me. That's all I'm gonna say. My list of the my,
I would say
my
you'll be
list of
well
demands will be
compensated.
given afterwards.
Better yet, you have more than a list of demands. You'll actually have a visit this
We'll talk
weekend.
about that after. How about that?
We will. But but anyhow, for those who haven't watched the series, please go to Netflix and check out their Netflix series called Aggretsuko, or Aggressive Resco, from his original title in Japan. But basically, the premise is we have a lady red panda working at a office with her friends, but she's going through the daily struggles of life, from work, relationships, etc. She has this great superpower though. Whenever she's angry, she turns into like this rage-filled being that likes to sing karaoke, and not just any karaoke, death metal. Safe to say, it's been our favorite series up to date, and we pretty much been watching every chance we get. We just finished the last season. Sadly, it's only 5 seasons, and they pulled up the last season about a month ago, about
10,
8 or 9 episodes,
like
something
10.
like that. 10. Yeah, I think it was 10 too. So, initial, what are your initial thoughts of the
Um,
series?
it's definitely different than most anime series that is currently out. Um, especially it coming from um, especially coming from Netflix. Netflix anime. genre in general is solid, but there's more new age stuff as well. I would say Aggretsuko is by far the more modern take on anime. Um, Stepping outside of the typical, I like as I said, like to say, the typical Japanese style, some kind of plot twist, some kind of violence or whatever. Is definitely a steer to the left. I love the premise behind it because, like you stated, the main character, you basically follow her as she goes through the daily struggle of adulthood. You know, because I think she's like in her 20s is what they have her kind of. So you see her in her
Mm-hmm.
20s, and you just um, you follow her as she goes through the typical dailyhood of being an adult, which is completely out of the realm of traditional anime. You know, it's typically always they follow the daily life of somebody, but it's always like a plot twist. Here's your plot twist, and it's something that's completely out of the norm. Um, that's like, for example, one anime I love and have to finish watching, but because they keep taking it on and off, and I'm at the point where I'm like, you know what, this is crazy. Is a Rosario and Vampire, where it's basically a male student who's get into a prestigious high school, but the twist is it's a high school for monster, and he is 100% vampire, not vampire, human. And he gets figured out by this female student who is like, the best way to describe it is like the super vampire of all vampires. Um, so he's in this high school with all these monsters, and it's like you have a vampire, you have a succubus, a witch. It's like
Oh gosh, pretty much like all of the
yes,
vampire, witch,
yes,
succubus,
all
quote
of
unquote
the
evil
well, we're gonna say
things all
all of the
in
like
one
typical
place.
folklore creatures basically run up behind him because they're like,
Yes.
oh my god, how did you get here or whatever. Um, and basically you see how he essentially navigates. There's only 2 seasons of that show. Um, and when they kept taking it off of Hulu, then it was on Crunchyroll. Originally it was on Netflix, then Hulu, then Crunchyroll. So it's like trying to find the actual complete series been hard. Because at some point in the series, I don't remember what episode or how far in, it does come out that he is human. It does come out in human because one of the rules of the high school is you cannot show your true form. There's they're like you different creatures. You're not supposed to show your true form. So but it's like um vampire, the main character who is a vampire is just like like so in love but not sure how to navigate her feelings. She is very much, when she's not in her true form, which is a vampire, um she's very much a girly girl, the typical school schoolgirl anime character, very bubbly and whatnot. And then, but her,
Mm-hmm.
when she switched to the vampire form, is truly just a simple look. Her hair changed color. Unfortunately, a certain thing on her body gets bigger, and her voice actually gets deeper. So it's like it comes from "Oh my God" to "Who are you?" It's like, whoa, wait a minute. It's completely night and day. And the only way, and the crazy part is, with this particular her, the only way she can switch into her form is she have a rosary around her neck, and he's the only one
Uh-huh.
that can break it off. Nobody else can break it off. People have tried. He is the only one that can snatch it off. Um, so I think
Got
that's part of the
you.
reason why I like kind of comparing Aggretsuko to that particular anime, because with Reski, she very much tried to hide what her true form is, if that makes sense. And it seemed like the only way that she can express how she feels is through death metal. Not sure why people can understand her better when she's screaming in the microphone, but it's just the idea of this is how she get expressed. Because I like how every season they have in so many ways pushed her outside of the box that she is typically in. So it's been
I feel like it's pretty much the same feeling I get with Aggretsuko the whole time, where I feel, even though it's a breath of fresh air because this anime looks
mm-hmm.
at everyday life as opposed to a quest or a harem,
Yeah.
the usual anime tropes. I feel like, oh, this is just me. And I, believe it or not, I actually work in an office right now, so I can only imagine times where I want to
Mm-hmm.
go after my coworkers if I'm angry, or colleagues. So I feel Resco's rage at times, also coming from a person on the spectrum, but also just a marginalized person in general, where I feel I really want to, I'm trying to be normal, but I'm not normal at the same time. But I want to do more than just
And I think that's
exist.
part of the reason why when you watch each season of Gresco, um, it's a different scenario that you don't really see in a regular anime. Like, in the first season, we get an idea of who she is, what she wants, and what not. And so when she finally gets what she thinks that she wants, and then she realizes, wait, this is not what it all cracked up to be. I have to advocate for myself and say, no, this is what I want. You see how she
Mm-hmm.
finally evolved. You saw how she evolved. Then compared to season 2, where she's evolving, she's finally in more, how you say, quote unquote, social situations, and you see how once again she is put forth. This particular season, she's more put in the front of a situation where she's like, I have no, why am I here? But she's once again put in the forefront to put somebody else out there. And then season 3 is like, I'm trying to remember what was season 3. Season 4 was, we learned more about. I feel like season 4 was, I would say season 4 was the only season where they did not heavily focus on her. They focused on another key character, and that's how season 4 in so many ways ties in to ultimately season 5. I'm trying to remember what happened in season 3.
I think I remember 4, where when the company was bankrupt or something, and they had to switch CEOs. And the CEOs, that new CEO was basically running the workers into the ground. And one of the protagonists,
Mm-hmm.
Haida, which is the hyena, was actually doing dirty work for the CEO. So that's how they were able to uncover what's going on, and eventually that's how old dude
And
got fired.
I feel like with that particular character, um, it was like the same thing with that particular character, who it ultimately ended up becoming her love interest. Um, him just going through the motions of life and whatnot, and so it's like you see how they're both going through, but you see how they come from vastly different backgrounds, because once you find out exactly who he is and where he comes from, you're like, what? It's the plot twist in every season that you just kind of go, wait a minute, I was not prepared for
Wait a
that.
minute, what's going on here? Like, it was a plot twist that I wasn't prepared for in like season 1 or 2, where she fell in love with
Oh yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
millionaire Tadano, the horse. And everything was going smooth until the last episode of one of those seasons, when basically he pretty much said, marriage is not for me. I think we are fine as we are. But they basically broke it off because Resco wanted
And that's
a life, a
essentially what
marriage.
it was. She had to decide if that was what she really want for her. And there's so much, like, right now, growing up as an adult, it's like you go through these motions of, is this what's right for me? And at that point, she was like, I'm glad that I actually have somebody that's into me and is genuine, but they're not on the same page as me. So, do I fight for what I want, or do I settle? So
Mm-hmm.
that's ultimately what we see with her. Like, she's like, I don't think I want to settle.
Absolutely. And I think also, as adults too, sometimes we need more exposure to really figure out who we are. I think, especially when she joined
Oh yeah,
the
yeah,
band, that's when that's why I think we see the evolution of Resco. I feel like singing is really her calling. Granted, she uses singing as like a
yeah,
coping mechanism. Is really how she got more popular, and that's how she able to affect the politics of her town. Which
that plot
that
twist
plot twist
in the
was,
later in
I
the
can't
later seasons
understand
was
it.
interesting. Um, I do feel like, and this is just me, I do feel like there's going to be another season. It's Netflix, and the reason why I say that is Netflix, and I don't see them the way that the series ended. I don't feel like that's the true ending, if you catch my drift, because if you go through if you go through each season, you see how, I hate to say this, but it's like you see how each evolution of her, of some kind of mental, um some kind of mental mentality behind it. So, like for example, you see how
Mm-hmm.
in season one she was very, very depressed, and she didn't know what her life had become and whatnot, and so then she finds somebody who's interested in her, and she's like, just when she thinks she's happy, boom, plot twist. Do you actually be happy with what you're being offered, or do you settle? So to see that the message behind season one was, you can still have a full life and still be happy within yourself. Season two is, I was just looking it up. Season two, where we met another character, and I like how they kind of use certain characters as, quote unquote, like a villain. So in season
Mm-hmm.
two, another coworker, they bring another coworker into play, and he's so the opposite of her, but the same. He's very chill, he's very reserved, but took a corporate event that they was putting on for him to, how you say, in so many ways, get his calling and express how he's feeling and whatnot. And it was just like, she's like, hey, it's okay. You don't have to always be this way. Then going into season 3 where she's in the girl band and how they're like, she's like, I don't want the fame. I don't want to do this. And they're like, we don't care. We want the fame. But you kind of see how she's like, wait a minute. It's okay actually enjoying something that I low-key been hiding. You know,
Mm-hmm.
Season 4 is where season 3 is also where we kind of see the potential love interest and the struggle that he deals with as far as who he is and whatnot. And then we're going into season 4 where we go into the love interest, the potential love interest, and learn more of his struggle. So I like how each season there's some kind of way she's helping them navigate them through her own mental issues as well. It's almost like how they always say how certain shows basically show like the different mental issues and like the theory. I just saw this. Hey Arnold, how how
Mm-hmm.
how how
My
how Hey Arnold is
God.
really just a messed up display of all the different mental diseases, that each kid basically parent had, so, and when I saw how they broke it down, I was like, who in their right mind had the time to watch this show and say, this kid have this kid have this? It's so mind-boggling to me.
Hey, Devin, how you doing? Welcome. See, we getting a lot of folks slowly but surely. But I glad you brought up the point of basically we use the characters as, I wouldn't even say villains, but like
Yeah.
aspects of life that we go through and then find our aha moments. And it seems like as the characters progress, there's the aha moment of, oh,
But
this is our destiny, even though it took a while to figure it out. So I guess another thing we could bring into you, a para professional working with students with disabilities, and I'm a researcher with a disability who also work with disability community. I guess using the Bresco references, how do we help the community realize their potential? Or what would you say to a person with a disability go through similar things that Wrestler is going through, trying to figure out life?
I was, mm, it's so hard because everybody's different. And finding, it's very cliche to say this, but finding their niche that help them showcase who they are. Like you have so many people that's part of the disability community that have other abilities, as I like to say, that showcase who they are. We have so many amazing writers. Um, I work at a special needs camp in South Bend, Indiana called Camp Millhouse, and we actually quite a
Mm-hmm.
few campers. Quite a few of my campers are published authors. They don't publish quite a few different books on stories and whatnot. Um, I feel like even though I feel like you may have a disability, you can flip that disability into an ability to showcase just how you really are in life. You know, um, I follow. I think it's TikTok, and I know don't remember if I'm following, but I've been watching. But there is I want to say he got Down syndrome, but there's a Down syndrome shelf, little Down syndrome shelf that cooks, and he actually like they act like he actually went to school and everything. You can tell that he's getting help, but just the idea that he's actually teaching how to cook gourmet meals and whatnot. So I would say definitely find what your niche is to showcase who you are. You know, yeah.
I agree with you. It's all about um, finding the niche, but also providing people the tools to find the niche as well. For instance, I feel like the character, the gamer in season 5, where she was stuck playing
Yeah,
video games all day, didn't really know what to do until
basically say it was
the
okay. Like
hyena.
it's okay to want to do this all day, every day, but at some point you have to grow from it. I think I'm sorry. I
Yeah.
think the
Or
biggest, I would have to say, the biggest example is is the boss, is the hyena. No, he's the hippo. I think he's the hippo. Is he a hippo? I don't remember. Yeah, Mr.
the
Ton.
boss. Oh,
I
the
think
pig, Mr. Ton.
season 3. Yeah, season 3 is that's when we get to no, it's season 4. Season 4 is when they get the new boss and how they restructured that department and whatnot. We see him as such a hard ass. He's pretty much like, hey, this is who I am. And I rule my life with an iron fist. But we saw how he's night and day. In the office, he's very, very hard. He's getting boss. But he have twin daughters, you know, and that family life,
Mm-hmm.
and then once they restructured the company, him keeping up that facade of everything is okay. Everything was okay. I can't let my wife or my girls know something's wrong. And so when you see how he covers up after being essentially quitting, being forced out, working at a convenience shop,
Mm-hmm.
how he basically goes every day and this and do all of that, you know, you really saw the human side of him. Because we don't really see we don't see the human side of him in quite a few of the series. We only see him as a jerk, and the only time we see a human side of him is when Resco is in doubt. That's how Mr. Ton is. Almost like Mr. Ton is that he always managed to be that small, crazy, still little voice that we all have, and in every season, some kind of way, when Risco has some kind of doubt and she's like, I'm not sure why I'm doing this. I don't understand why I'm doing this. It's just for some crazy reason. It's always Mr. Ton that's like drops some knowledge, and you're like, where did that come from?
I, I think that's where,
Yeah,
some of my best teachers really are jerks. They'll drop knowledge. And that's kind of like, let's look at the Michael Jordan example. Greatest player of all time. He has a lot of good or even great teammates. But his methods, sometimes you'll wonder,
yeah,
how the heck you making friends? He punching teammates,
yeah,
cussing them out, fretting,
yeah,
fretting
yeah,
on their careers. But at the same time, when he drops little nuggets at you, you'll realize it's a method to the
yeah,
madness.
yeah.
Is mean. He could have done it another way for certain people, but at the end
Right.
go, that helped. The same, I now going back to the Gamer Girl, and also talking about Aggretsuko a little bit. I could relate to both of them because I feel in the disability community we have
Yeah,
to be in a certain box. Like for instance, when we transition from high school to whatever
Mm-hmm.
phase of adulthood, we have to do customer service. We
Mm-hmm.
have to work with our hands. But I feel happiness really comes in when we do what we enjoy and we figure out there's actually
Mm-hmm.
money involved. Like Resco eventually joined the band, realizing not only she could sing and live out her dreams,
And I
she
think
could make a
what
little
it,
money too,
and,
and she could even
yeah, and
change the world.
I feel,
The same with the gamer. I feel the gamer could do the same thing where she can use her passion for gaming
yeah, because
to
the
change the
crazy thing
world.
about the gamer, you never in the final season per se, and we learn more about the gamer. You never really hear how she makes her money. Like we know that she have money, so is it truly from gaming? We don't know. We know that everybody else that she knew had some kind of actual job, but her. And so when we see the scene where she's standing and looking at the apartments and all of that, and she's just like, "This is stupid, but it's life." You see that light bulb. Um, even with um, even with a nine, even with a nine, and see, and see, good
Oh
old
my
Anai,
goodness. Good
how
old
he
Anai.
was very much just like very blah, don't care, but yet it was something about cooking, you know. Remember, re-
Oh
yeah,
yes. I remember you
yeah,
cooking
yeah,
the
and
yakisoba.
the lady hippo, is the one who's um, was the one to unlock his potential and how he was like, you know, you can do this, and he's like, yes, I can, and you know, and those moments where he's like, yeah, I can deal with this. It's the moments that you see in certain characters where it's just like, okay, you see the human side of them. You really see the human side, and that's one thing that you don't really see in most animes. You don't see that. You don't. You don't.
I don't think so either. If you do see the human side of most anime, it had to be the most extremes. Goku, Goofy, Vegeta, mean as heck. Or we can name all types of animes. It always had to be some type of extreme. Whereas I feel like with Aggretsuko, you get to see many facets of their personality, but also we get to see everyone's definition of enjoyment. Finico
Yeah.
like to drink and get hired up in all sorts of trouble.
or I forgot the one character who's all about love and always trying to always like, this is what you got to do to get a man. This is what you got to do to get a date. That's her thing. Or even the best friends, the eagle and the gorilla, which that is the most interesting pair of best friends. It is so interesting. See that, but I also feel like that is like, or some racist, not racist, but some racist, some racial undertones, because it's an eagle and a gorilla.
Oh
I'm
my
just saying, but
gosh.
that's just me. That's another. That is another.
Oh god,
That's another.
we will not
That's another.
we're not gonna get into monkeys and all
That's
that. Oh
that's
god,
another.
thanks a lot. I
That's another
cannot see
debate.
it no
That's
more.
another discussion. But you see how each character in that scene, you see a different level of what is happiness to each character. You know, even in season 4 with the um when the new CEO came and he just wanted to be a good boss. He just wanted to just be known as a good boss or whatever. And the hyena was like, you can do that, but you don't have to sell your soul. you know, and that was the ultimate lesson behind season 4, because the hyena was like, hey, say he had always been kind of everybody that tasted the go-to guy for certain stuff, and then when he finally is like the leader of everybody, he's like, it feels good, but it doesn't feel right, you know.
I, yeah, I feel that same way. It feels like the hyena was finally able to be responsible, but it kills him because it's not his personality. His personality is more so
Yeah,
I could
yeah.
fix it, but not lead and overdo it because, oh wow. And I want to give a shout out to Dr. Devin Price. Love you, man. I love you. He actually written a few books on autism, and he he also, I mean, they also like to talk about disability and gaming on their streaming channel as well. And they also included me in their book exploring the autism world, especially the things that we don't talk about in the autism world,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's special interests or, in my
Yeah.
case, being a person of color. Yeah, so if you're listening, um, Devin, what's up? If you want to join us, let us know and talk about it, about Aggretsuko or certain shows more. If not, that's fine too. But I just want to really shine a light on you. Even though
I
Angie wants to
wouldn't
kill
say
me.
that on camera, but okay. No comment.
It doesn't have to be on camera. It's
I
the
plead the
look
fifth.
you
I don't know
basically
what you're
give
talking
me.
about.
Please put my foot. But okay, we could talk about that in a
Yes, please and thank you.
private conversation. And we can handle it like
Anywho,
adults. Aggressive, like
oh,
pandas
jeez.
and hyenas.
Do you, so in the grand scheme of anime, and as we, I think, as someone who is dating a autistic person, what is your take? And that's kind of veer off the topic real quick, because of the fact that we're coming out with more shows that is tackling the mental diseases per se. We're seeing more shows that is shining shining a light, but not shining a light on disabilities. What do you want, as someone who is that's autistic, want to see more of when it comes to these shows?
First off, I like to say how clever you put it. You could have just said, what do you think as someone? You could have
It's the
said they me.
radio TV aspect person in my head. Okay, leave me alone. Anywho, that's that's the radio TV
I
train in me.
know,
I'm
but
sorry, my
it's
bad.
no, it's all good. It's all good. But I caught your drift. But I feel as an autistic person, or just a person with a disability in general, because remember, I
Mm-hmm.
have multiple disabilities other than just autism. I have quite a few
Mm-hmm.
mental health experiences. I'm also have chronic knee pain. Also, I rarely talk about. I also have problems processing certain sounds. I feel honestly, anime has done a great job with exploring
Mm-hmm.
the neurodivergent in the first place. Because while I love Marvel, I love how they play around with certain things in history or in society, especially the Magneto and Professor X thing, connecting it to Malcolm X
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
Dr. King. I feel with those American-based cartoons is a lot about power. You got to be perfect. You got to be the perfect specimen to be important. With anime, you could be the normal person. You could be socially awkward. You don't have to have any powers coming in at all. Hey, man, Chuck, how you doing? You don't have to
That's my TikTok friend. Hey.
be
Sorry.
the
Or I'm
you don't have to be
sorry.
like
He
the,
said, "Hey
the
friend,
swole
hey
one.
friend."
You know,
Right.
I gotta say my shout outs to everyone.
Right.
It's an intimate conversation. Pretty much how we will talk at the dinner table. Okay. Hey, unless you want me to talk
No, we're still
behind the dinner table.
stay on the text.
Now,
Stay on the topic at hand, sir. We talking about what we talk about Aggretsuko and disabilities and that stuff.
I know, even though love is a part
I
of
mean, yeah.
disability Aggretsuko too.
I think that's the one thing. That's the main thing that is very poignant with Aggretsuko. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect.
Nobody
And
at
you
all.
see a glimpse of of each character flaw in every season. So nobody's perfect. You see how they're struggling with their flaws. What you often see in a lot of different animes in so many ways, there is that not necessarily perfect, but there's that niche. Like this is you just have to be this, you have to be that. Like, for example, God, I don't want to butcher the name, but it's the show on Netflix where it's a high school and they are a bunch of gambling addicts.
Oh
So
my
that's the
goodness!
idea that
Not the
it's not a
gambling
porn.
porn series. That's another story, by the way. But the
That's a
main
whole
character, oh my
nother.
goodness.
That's another. But just it's the whole. The idea is how much are you willing to risk? It's not even like when we. I love that plot twist with that show because when you think of high school, it's all about, like you say, being popular, being perfect, being the one that everybody wants to be around. Versus with this show, yes, it's set in the high school, but it's like, how much are you willing to risk? And I think that's what's the crazy part behind the main character, because unfortunately, that's what gets her off, unfortunately. But it's that nagging question on every episode, because if you really watch that show and pay attention, she went against the top people for every particular game. Whatever game that they was playing, she ended up going against the number one person. So you have to think about it. These top tier people is number one in the school, so they don't have nothing to worry about. But here she comes and she's like, I owe debt. I don't care if I lose. How much are you willing to risk for this game? How much are you willing to risk? When you see
I think one person
she
willing
lost her
to
eyeball and
lose
she
an
was
eyeball.
willing to lose another one, which is the crazy part. She was like, "Let's go," and it was like, "No, you're crazy." But
Go!
with that particular show, it's the how much are you willing to risk? Like the idea of, and when you saw how the mental aspect of it, the minute that person start to go doubting themselves, and you saw how it was a mental game for her. It was never about winning. She was mental, very very mental. If you really pay attention and watch that show, it was very very mental. It was very very mental because the minute they realized, wait, I can't beat my own. I know this game. I'm a beast in this game, and you see where it started turning because she started asking questions. She started getting in their head, and then that's when they like, wait, I don't like. How did we get here? You know, and then
Mhm.
the ending, how that show ended to this day is still very mind-blowing to me because I'm just like so confused. So confused. So I mean, I don't know if that's
To be
going. I don't.
continued.
They haven't said if a season three is coming from that, but just the way that how that storyline ends, I don't know how
Mm-hmm.
it could come back. You know, um,
Yep. Topaz,
that's almost like
hey.
what's my show? Or host club, or high school host club.
Yes, but we got to talk about before we get into the host club. I think going back to the appeal of anime, especially as a person with a disability, is a concept that I learned in
Mm-hmm.
a book that I read where the person was analyzing disability in
Okay.
Afrofuturism literature. And the idea is disability is not always
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
about the barriers, it's about what you can do in certain situations or certain arenas. And what if your disability, per se, could be your best asset in a given place? I feel with anime, it's the same thing where, so what are you socially awkward? Let's take
Yeah.
sword art or even
Yeah.
fresco. Yeah, I could be socially awkward, but
It
when it
counts.
counts, I can kick
Mm-hmm.
in singing, karaoke. I
Mm-hmm.
can kick your ass in video games. I can kick your ass
Yeah.
whenever I am called. And we have powers that may benefit people you never even imagined. But we could appear awkward or quote unquote weak. And to get back to the host club, Honey. Honey's the most interesting character because when you look at Honey, that's a little
He's the
kid. How the hell did this
he's
kid
the
get to high school?
he's the little
But he knows
kid, but he
karate
is the
though.
one that, in so many ways, almost have like the most power out of everybody, which is so interesting. It is very
Hmm.
interesting to think about that, because when you think about the host club and just how they each have a different level of um I'm trying to figure out how to say this, but just watching this, understanding their ticks with the twins, and yeah, even
Oh yeah.
I like to say honey bodyguard, as I like to say it. Um, but what I ultimately like is like how they have this sense of community, even though they come from different backgrounds, and then they bring in the one character who is actually a girl. People don't realize that she's actually a girl. She's a girl. Um,
But she very fine
she's
in
gender
men's
fluid.
clothes.
If gender fluid if there was the best way to describe gender fluid, there you go. Um, but
Oh yes.
like that's one. I hate the fact that they ended the show the way that it ended, and basically you have to go back. You have to go to the manga to find out what happened. Oh,
Which actually they end up getting
I don't know.
married,
I
getting
haven't
together.
read the
I
manga.
think, right?
Just shameless plug. I have the whole series of that manga on my wish list on Amazon. Just saying, shameless plug. Boop. Um, shameless
Uh-huh.
plug.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
Yeah, gotcha.
but it's it's I would even do you one better outside of Aggretsuko, outside of anime. The hit series on Webtoons, Lore Olympus. Yes. So if you don't know what Lore Olympus is it's like the number one graphic novel. It's on Webtoon. Right now they are in book 4 of print. Yeah, shameless plug on my wish list. But what I like about Lord Olympics, they definitely twist all of the Greek characters, mythologies on the head. Um, and so you have Hades, who is the king of the underworld. As we know, he's supposed to be this dark and mysterious character, and he ended up falling for a fertility goddess. But little did he know that the fertility goddess kind of have a past. But you see how they bring the good out of each other. And everybody that's around them are just like, how does this work? Why does this work? I don't understand how this works, because you have, like I said, you have Hades, who is the king of the underworld, and you have the fertility god who's supposed to bring wealth and peace and love and happiness. And once you start reading it, everybody at some point is like, how does this even work? I don't understand, but I want what they have. Because you see as you read it, like, I'm not gonna even lie, I'm so behind, but I'm literally trying to catch up. But you see how Hades is like breaking out of that shell, breaking out of that box, and the people that was like the people that he was kind of closest to are like, who are you now? Who changed you? And you eat Core, as they call her, Persephone. I'm sorry, correct name, Persephone. You see how she is the perfect image of what a goddess is supposed to be, So her mom is like shielding her. She's like, you're not supposed to go to the mortal world. You're supposed to be doing this. I'm sending you to school for this or whatever. But yet she still have that curiosity in the back of her mind. And then she meet Hades, and even though and the crazy part is, plot twist, at some point, can't remember where in the series, but at some point they are destined to be together, and he basically finds out how, which I'm like, what? Was not prepared for that. But it's like you see how it works and how it don't work, because Hades, and she's a fertility god, but you see how she softens him up, and then at the same time you see how she's slowly becoming into her own. I will say there is a very situation in the story, and I'm not ready to find out if he finds out. But there's a part of that story where she deal with being raped. So it's like, I'm waiting. I'm trying to get to the part where he's like, "Oh hell no, flip a table." But when you see characters that you so used to seeing in one light, and you see them in another light, completely different. That's like, I want to read. There's a book series on Disney stories. What if it wasn't the ending? What if it was a different ending? Like I have there's like the book where it's Princess Tiana, a Princess and the Frog. Like, what if she actually made it? Or as they coming out now, the backstories behind the series of the backstory behind all the villains. So I'm definitely like, let's go.
Hey, Jada, how you doing?
Hello, hello.
Yeah, this is my lovely
Hello.
Novia, Angela. Angela,
Hello.
Hi there.
yeah, they're the co-hosts that had a delay, but it's all good. But I'm still glad that you're able to come, and we can still do this for another 10 minutes because I know both of us got to go to a class soon at 7.
Oh yeah.
Yep. So, from your perspective, because you're also a Aggretsuko fan. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing it.
Yeah. Aggretsuko fan. Oh yeah.
How? What's your initial thoughts of, especially season 5, but the whole series in general, and how do you connect, I guess, the whole series with your journey as a person with disability?
For me, I think that Aggretsuko is literally my spirit animal because especially, masking, they do I think Sanrio really does a good job with I guess the concept of masking, putting up a front in everyone else's face and then, releasing all that anger behind the scenes. I think um Aggretsuko really relates to me so well, but it's also not really like kitty cut or watered down. And I think coming from a show that's known for making, kitty cut, kawaii kind of shows like Hello Kitty and My Cinnamon, that entire franchise, I was very shocked. But nonetheless, I think the show overall is just great, and I think it just navigates the experience of, to me, like the typical autistic life, the awkwardness, the certain people, being annoyed around certain people, and dealing with. I think it really does a good job with how real life is. I think and I'm not it's more of like a millennial thing kind of, but I'm a Gen Z, so I'm uh I'm a little bit on the young side, but I think it really does a good job navigating just the workforce, and also mental health from a mental health standpoint. I think they really do a good job with that too.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. It definitely does a good job with not only mental health, but also with like the whole journey of masking. And you could back me up on this one if you want, Angie. But I think we also talked about where
Hmm.
in the series we discovered each one have some type of their own whatever, their
Hmm.
own
Hmm.
flaw or their own thing going on. And we also found out that each of them have a passion that either they don't want to show or end up showing at the end, that benefits not only them but also, well,
Yeah.
especially in Resky's case, benefits
Yeah.
the whole
And
city.
that's why I was saying, talking about before Jada got on with Mr. Ton, and how he, like Jada said, that mask. That mask of where at work he's the hard ass, he's the tough boss. He lives off of fear. He's like, if you don't fear me, something is wrong. But yet when he gets home, he's a completely other character. So then when you watch him in season 3, I think, or it was 4. It's 4. When you see him in season 4, where he's pushed out of the comfort zone of being the jerk, of being the one everybody fear, and he have to kind of sit back and reevaluate who he is outside of being the fearless boss, the boss that everybody fear. It's like, okay, and so that mask come off, and that's why I love that scene where just when he thinks he got away with it, his daughters find out, and they're like, "What the hell, Dad? Why are you doing this? Explain yourself," And Rescue is just like, "Hey, you want to come at me? Now it's your turn." Even the hippo, I call it the most gossiping hippo out of everybody. Even in that season, where she get pushed out, where they get pushed out, and she's like, her sitting back and going, you know what? I do have a family. I do have a son that I need to take care of. I do have these obligations at home. I can say no if I really wanted to, you know. And you see how her mess is, quote unquote, the gossiping, the getting the tea from everybody, being in the know and all of that. But when you actually see her kind of not being in the know of what's going on in the company, she had to step back and kind of go, I can't say no. I have a family. I have, outside of this, I do have another life, you know. So definitely, I agree with Jada with the mask. How each character is some kind of way wear a mask, you know, and we kind of learn what the mask is essentially covering.
Yeah, I feel. Oh, I did want to get into more of Haida and his mask because for the longest we see him as lazy, just want to chill, play video games. He's the cool guy. He's the IT guy that can fix anything. But then we learn that he's actually from a well-to-do family, a
Hmm.
strong
Hmm.
political family. Where the reason why he put on his mask, A, he don't want to be associated with the BS the family is having, and B, I think he's more alike with Resco than he let himself to be because he really want to
Hmm.
just live life too. But Resco, it took both of them a while to connect because
Yeah.
social awkwardness. And I believe from a disability, mental health, and romantic perspective, it's hard for us to find people we love or connect with because we have to go through our own personalities and personality of others before we can even connect. And it took 5 seasons for Resky and Haida to have few things in common other than they shy, they work at office or used to work at office, and
Hmm.
focusing their asses off when they pissed. No, I'm sorry. Resky sings, Haida plays instruments when he's pissed. But they play music when they pissed. Any other thing I want to talk about with Resco or just anime and disability in general? I believe one of our mutual friends, Artemis, was mentioning how anime saved people's lives. I was also saying it saved my life too. And Angie, you mentioned about how you pretty much said how anime influenced a lot, especially my life, and I think I've talked about with anime, basically, you don't have to be the strongest. You don't have to be the coolest around to be victorious. You can have the other intangibles too to succeed. Cleverness. Or you could be good at video games to save the world. You don't have
you
to lift
you could be
weights.
the only human
So,
at an all monster high school. You could be the only human, and yet they still let you stay. Just saying.
I feel you. So I guess that's also be our way to conclude the series, because again I know I kept you a little too long, Angie, so I'm sorry. And again, Jada, we gotta go to class.
Uh,
So, but I am so sorry. But I'm glad
oh
we
yeah.
able to
Oh
pull
yeah.
this off.
If you're gonna do it again, please give
Yeah,
me a
but
more thorough warning. Not get on the call and be like, "Hey, by the way, help."
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
That was
I was
my
panicking.
fault. That was my fault.
It's all good. We able to pull it out. That's the great thing. So I guess the party question I want to ask both of you all, in terms of just anime or geekery in general, it doesn't have to be Aggretsuko.
Mm-hmm.
It could be whatever anime. How does it shape your identity as a person, or how has how are you able to relate to anime, basically? That's your identities.
Hmm. Think about it for a second. Yeah, you do.
If you want me to
Yeah,
go
you do
first, I
that.
could go
God, I got to
first.
think about that for a
Just
second.
I thought about it a lot also, because for a long time I wondered, why did I like anime so much? Why do I like anime and nerd stuff so much? Even when I got into Pokemon, I didn't even think that it's nerdy or Japanese or anything. It's just Pokemon, animals and things battling each other. That's so cool. But part of it, my father also a nerd, and we have nerds in the family. So that's my way to connect with not only family but also with my peers too. But I think also anime, especially from a disability standpoint, made me realize that I have more gifts than I thought I have. It's not a matter of what I can't do, but more so what world I need to be in to showcase what I could bring. I have to be in the right environment.
I would say for me, being someone that was raised, um, not even being raised different, but basically being exposed. That's the word I want to say. Being exposed to different things. So being exposed to different museums and arts and music and whatnot, for me, kind of thing, we're in a nerdom, as you say. So whether that's anime, whether that's Doctor Who or Star Trek or all of that, it's the being able to connect, um, and getting myself lost in that connection. Um, I unfortunately grew up on, I wasn't unfortunately, but I grew up on the south side of Chicago. And, you know, a little black girl on the south side of Chicago, outside of watching Power Rangers or whatever's on TV, I couldn't hype up and be like, at 10 year olds being like, hey, I love Star Trek, let's go. Um, you know, but being able to just, man. I'm practicing on getting the other hand. Um, but just being able to connect and even see. Well, I love a good story. I think that's part of the reason why I love shows like um Aggretsuko. I love any story and any kind of anime. I think that's why I'm like getting deeper and deeper into Doctor Who and Star Trek. I love a good story, and when I can see myself and how you say immerse myself into the story, that's where I'm like, yes, that's my just you say my bread and butter. So I think that's why I'm such a nerd and why I enjoy nerdy stuff. You know, I am the person that can read the first page of a book and can tell you if that book is going to be good or not. I can watch a trailer and be like, this show is not going to be good. We're not going to watch it. You know, so I love a good story, and I think that's part of why I connect so well with the Nerdom. You know, it's the story. You know how it captures you and how it keeps you on the edge of your seat. It's literally like reading a good book. You just don't know when to put it down, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Perfect sense. Perfect sense. Jada, how about you?
For me, completely different. And even though I grew up on the south side of Chicago, unfortunately, uh, I am probably one of the only nerdy people in my family, kind of besides my mom. And I always use anime as a way to not disassociate myself, but it makes me feel heard. It makes me feel like I matter because of my experiences. Well, I first got into anime when I was about, I want to say 6 or 7. So one of the first animes I fully watched was actually Naruto. And then later on, I watched Inuyasha, and then I learned about some other animes too. So I was exposed to a lot. Um, but it, I think it definitely helped me connect just someone that is autistic and has a disability. It helps me feel like I'm heard. It helps me feel like I matter. But also getting to a lot of special interests has actually, to me, made me a better person because I have a vivid imagination. And coming from a family that, are just very realist and, not really accepting of my imagination, I think that, and even though I get teased about it a lot, I love that I have all of these special interests. I love that I know everything. I know like everything about Disney, and I know a lot about different animes, and I know a lot about
Mm-hmm.
different movies and things like that. So it's a sense of relief, and it's also just it just helps me know my purpose and just help me venture out and just keep the imagination going, keep the creative flow going.
Absolutely, absolutely. Folks, that is the power of anime and all types of geekery and even the power of Aggretsuko. And you might as well drop the mic on that one. I don't know
Well,
how else to end it. But we thank you all for being a part of the show, even though, it's been some twists and turns like an anime. We're still able to have a great conversation about not only Aggretsuko, but also tying that show and similar shows to themes in disability, as well as themes in life, also disability or otherwise. So, Angie, I appreciate you coming in last minute, and Jada, even though it was shorter than expected, I still appreciate you joining also.
What's no worries. That was, I just gotta understand timing, but I appreciated being here. I'm grateful to at least, even the short time that we had, share my perspective.
For sure. And we can make it up to each other later. Jada, whether it's really an episode where we could both have more time. Angie, I get to your
I,
making
I will
up
give you my list of demands
much
later.
later. Oh, don't worry. I have it already for you already. Let me stop. but but for those who missed it, that's okay. Once this ends, you can check it out on the Chicagoland Depop Instagram. We will also post it on Facebook, and if you're lucky, we'll try to post it on YouTube also. At any rate, the video will be available to multiple streams. And on that note, thank you all for listening to our geekery, and have a good night. May the force be with you always.